Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? Awesome, yay. My name is Agnes Chang, and I work at the Mayor's Office for Immigrant Advancement, MOIA, M-O-I-A. On behalf of my director, Alejandra Singuian, and my colleagues at MOIA, welcome and thank you so much for joining us here to commemorate World Refugee Day. We are surrounded by this very powerful exhibit. I hope you will all get a chance to really read and listen to all the stories of the 20 Syrian refugees that are portrayed here. We actually have Amina featured here with us today, and you're going to hear her story personally. MOIA is also very delighted to partner with the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture to co-sponsor this event. Thank you, Chief Burrows. Just to, not to take away time from you so you can enjoy the exhibit, enjoy some lunch, without further ado, I'm going to introduce the person behind our work. He is the rock of our mission, always encouraging MOIA to serve, to engage, and to advocate for our immigrant and refugee community. Once again, my honor to introduce the Chief of Health and Human Services, our Chief Felix Arroyo.
Thank you. Thank you, Agnes, for that. It's amazing the introduction you get when you offer somebody $10. I just want to very quickly, thank Agnes, not just for the introduction, but really for the work she does every day. Agnes has been working in the city now 12 years? 10 years. 10 years is the Chief of Staff of the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Advancement. I started when Marty started, right? And so to have someone like Agnes already there to really help us make sure we knew what the right direction was in the first place was pretty powerful. And so I'm grateful for you, but everyone else who's here that represents MOIA, works at MOIA, I see on, I don't know who else, if I missed you, I'm sorry, but the rest of the team, you guys are all real rock stars, and I'm lucky to pretend that I have some role in the work that you do. My name is Felix Arroyo. As Agnes said, I have the real honor of being able to say that I serve as the Chief of Health and Human Services here in the city under Mayor Walsh. And I'll be able to soon introduce a colleague of mine on the cabinet, but before I do that, I wanted to speak a little bit about why today's the day that we wanted to highlight this exhibit. Today is World Refugee Day. While the exhibit is going to bring you attention to the Syrians and what's happening in Syria and the Syrian refugee situation, today I want to use this as a moment to use that to think about the millions upon millions of people who are in this country as refugees, right? These are folks who are forced through nothing that they did, and in fact, often very much with no real choice, forced to leave their homeland, to leave who they know, to leave the people they love, to leave the land they love, to leave the people they love, to leave a place where they thought they would spend the rest of their lives, and to come somewhere else for this mere simple reality that it just isn't safe where they are. I think out of that crisis creates opportunity. And in our national conversation, I think it's missing. But we are the great benefits in this country to have a place where folks who find themselves in that circumstance decide that America is one of the countries they want to come to. And then we get the benefit from them being here, right? And out of that crisis creates a real opportunity for us as Americans and for this country. The first World Refugee Day was celebrated in 2001, and it commemorated the passing of the 1951 Refugee Convention Treaty by the UN. So today we celebrate the 66th anniversary of the convention. We reaffirm our commitment to the principles of international peace and justice for everyone, and especially those forcibly displaced from their homes and their home countries. You know, I suspect if you're here, you're also not somehow ignorant to the national discourse and conversation around immigration and refugees. And I could safely say that that the loudest voice right now in Washington, D.C. around immigrants and refugees is not in any way reflective of the people who live in this city. I'm completely confident about that, and I am not talking Republican and Democratic politics. I'm talking about the values of this city, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or just unenrolled or have different ideas, is not being reflected with the loudest voices. I'm proud to work for a mayor who has made it very clear that those who live in our city, no matter who they are, no matter when they got here, no matter under which status they are living here, they should proudly consider themselves Bostonians. They should know that we work for them, and that we will do everything we can to protect them, because their hopes and dreams are in fact completely aligned and related to our ability to succeed as a city, as a state, and as a country. And every time we support the hopes and dreams of those who live here, you are not just doing something that's selfless by supporting another person, you're actually behaving very selfish, because when they succeed as a city, we succeed. And it's why I'm grateful to say that we have this exhibit here today. It's why I'm grateful to say I work for the mayor that I work for, that Moya is part of our cabinet. And I hope that all of you, I know I'm speaking to the choir, I hope that all of you, when you leave here, when you move places, you bring that message, that true message, that real truth about what this country is. Not in the talking points, I'll end with this before I introduce Julie. There are really two things that make America unique when you compare it to every other country. One, we freely elect our leaders. We're not the only country that does that, but we do know there are many countries who do not have that right and privilege. The other one is that the vast majority of us come from someplace else. And we're not the only country that has immigrants, but when you put those two together, where the vast majority of us come from someplace else and we freely elect our leaders, that is actually what makes us unique. So when we're waving the American flag and we're talking about how great America is, you can't do that without recognizing the two things that make us unique in this world. And you most certainly cannot forget that reality, and that's why I'm just proud to have this here and to have the very many immigrants and refugees who I work with, who I see every day, and everything that they add to this city. We're just very grateful here in Boston. So on behalf of the mayor, I want all who hear my voice and all who don't to know you are safe here, we believe in you, and we know that our city is better because you exist. And we're grateful you chose Boston as a city to work and live. With that, I get to introduce a woman who is a first. When our mayor was elected, one of the promises that he made was that he was going to hold arts and culture to high esteem, right? And that when there are many things that make a city's soul is reflected in its art and its culture. And to that end, you needed to have someone with a real voice. And what does that mean in the hierarchy of government, right? It means you're sitting on the cabinet as an equal with the other cabinet chiefs. And so the first time in the history of Boston, our mayor created a position that was the Chief of Arts and Culture, which is a cabinet position. That turned out to be the easy part. Hard part is to find the right person to be the first, right? That's a very difficult task, both for the person who created that position, but for the person who takes it. And I think the mayor nailed it, hit a home run. He had to go to Chicago. We forgive him for leaving the city on this one. He had to go to Chicago, but like I just said, all the immigrants are welcome, including those from Chicago. And so I want to welcome my friend and our first Chief of Arts and Culture, Julie Burrows.
Thank you so much, Chief Arroyo. And I am also the daughter of an immigrant and come from a long line of people who emigrated from country after country after country after country over the past several hundred years, seeking freedom and seeking liberty, and landed in the U.S. I wanted to offer a special thanks to Michael Cohen for bringing this wonderful show to City Hall, and he'll speak right after me, and also to Alejandra, the Director of the Office of Immigrant Advancement, for being such great partners within City Hall and in the community. We are so thrilled to have this show here in City Hall, where both workers and visitors to this incredible building can see these portraits and read these stories and put a real face on the refugee crisis. As Chief of Arts and Culture, I've had the honor of overseeing the creation of another first for Boston, and that's a plan to support arts and culture called Boston Creates. And this plan is a manifestation of the people of Boston's deeply held belief in the power of the arts to transform lives. Among its goals, Boston Creates really looks to elevate how the arts can facilitate learning opportunities among diverse cultures. And this exhibit is a great example of that in action, really demonstrating the power of the arts to teach, create dialogue, and help us connect with one another. We know that since its earliest days, the city of Boston has been home to people of all cultural backgrounds, many, many different cultural backgrounds and nations of origins. And Boston Creates envisions a city in which arts and culture are not just part of our storied past, but really at the heart of our contemporary identity, and that we're a city that truly celebrates diversity in all its forms by inspiring and empowering Bostonians to express their individual creativity and cultural identities. I hope that this exhibit inspires you to go a little deeper, get to know a little bit more about the refugee crisis, and explore how you can help be part of the solution. With that, I will introduce Michael Cohen, who brought this exhibit to City Hall and to whom we are eternally grateful. Thank you.
I think the Super Bowl has started. Thank you, Julie, and thank you everyone for coming today. There is a message in these images. And after we're done here, and as you walk around the perimeter of this mezzanine, and also continuing upstairs right over to where the mayor lives, you'll be looking at the faces and reading the interviews. The message will become clear. But I'm going to give you a head start. At the end of each interview, Amy Bracken, who is sitting right there, who is a sensational journalist and part of our team, as she concluded each one, she asked a final question to each of the people that you'll meet today. She said, what message would you like to give to the Americans who come to see this exhibit? And while there are numerous answers on these panels, I'll read you the first one now. It's from a young man named Ali, who left Syria in 2014. And when asked what he'd like to say to the people who come to this exhibit, he says simply, I would like to say, you did the right thing. Because you have to break the ice between us. You have to come close to other people to see them. He's right. And I want to thank Mayor Walsh for giving you the opportunity to come close. My hometown, the city of Boston, has welcomed this exhibit as it welcomes refugees from all over, as you heard Felix talking about. I also want to thank, sitting right here in the front, Dr. Dana Johnbeck of LaSalle College, whose research focuses on Syrian refugees and who worked to help us find participants for this project. She also did on-the-fly interpreting during our travels because many of the participants spoke Arabic, and Dana does, and we don't. And also to Amy Bracken, who's a brilliant journalist that has been reporting on immigration issues for many years, and who wrote and administered the questionnaires that you see in all these panels. Now, after this exhibit leaves Boston in 10 days, it will begin a nationwide tour to educate and inform others. And I want to ask you all, because we have slots on our schedule, if you have a connection in another city that you think might want this exhibit, come see me. Today, you'll have a chance to spend a few minutes with 20 Syrian men and women who left Syria not because they wanted to, but because they had to make a choice to live or to die. Imagine how you might begin to make a choice like that. Where might you go? How might you get there? And who might protect you along a journey that you never wanted to make? This is the plight of the refugee. Individuals and families that are ripped from the life that they know without notice, often without resources, and thrust into a situation that they never asked for and wish had never happened. Here in Boston and across this great country, the immigrant, the refugee, is an important part of our American culture and our society. In Syria, the war that has killed over 400,000 people has also created over 5 million refugees that have left their country. We are in the midst of the worst refugee crisis since World War II, and that was 72 years ago. This project began as a way for me to answer the question, what can one person do? As a photographer, this is my answer. I felt I had to do something because the majority of Americans simply are not in favor of Syrian refugee resettlement in the United States. Why? Well, there are as many reasons as there are people to give them. But one thing is for certain. As Ali said, you have to come close to people to see them. Otherwise, you're just propagating stereotypes. Amy, Dana, and I created the Faces of Syrian Refugees to help you see a side of the Syrian refugee crisis that you probably haven't seen in the media. These 20 refugees, and so many others like them, have overcome their struggle, not without personal cost, and have settled in new countries, and now belong to new communities. What we have learned is that when Syrian refugees are welcomed into a new area, they and the communities that have welcomed them thrive. There is so much that Dana and Amy and I want to share with you about our experiences. And after we're done talking, we'll be in the hall and having a bite to eat. And please feel free to come up and introduce yourself to any of the three of us. We'd also like you to share your experiences with the Faces of Syrian Refugees. And we've created a way for you to talk directly to the men and women that you're going to meet today. So using your smartphone, everybody got one? I want you to take a selfie with one of our Syrians and post it with this hashtag, TFOSR, the Faces of Syrian Refugees. In fact, I'm going to do one right now with all you guys. All right, everybody? When you do that, with that hashtag, we'll be following that hashtag, and so will the people that you're going to meet today. If you add a comment to the post, they'll be able to receive it. You know, they don't have the chance to be with us in person live today, and I know that they'd love to hear from you and hear what you think. And you can talk directly to them. And before touring the exhibit and meeting some of our new friends, there's one in particular I would like to introduce you to. Her name is Amira, and she's right here. She left Syria with her husband and 2 kids in 2000 and, well, wait a minute. Why don't we just let her tell you herself? Amira?
Thank you all for welcoming me in your country and my country now. All over the world, when you hear Syria, it's war, it's devastation, it's refugees, and it's disasters. But before 2011, it was nothing like that. Before 2011, Syria was a peaceful and touristic country visited by millions each year. Syria was known to be the cradle of civilization, the land of Christianity and Islam, and it even had a whole street that contained a lot of Jewish. In my Syria, denominations did not matter at all. People were living a simple and modest life, and most Syrians had houses. We did not use bank loans to buy them. We just bought them cash. We had very successful businesses that worth millions of dollars. And we used to celebrate all occasions, birthdays, weddings, gather every Friday. It was really nice. And just one day, everything is gone. We took everything for granted. Just like me, I thought what I had will be mine forever, but in 2011, I lost it all. In 2011, the first thing that I lost is the main source of our income. My husband owned a travel agency, so of course, the first thing that went down was the travel business. Then, on my birthday, the same year, I lost my house. Some people got in there for some reason and vandalized it all. They took my kids' stuff, their toys, our dreams, the house that took us 5 years to build and fill in. In just one day, we lost it. Then we decided to relocate in another town in Damascus, which is in downtown Damascus. We were 4 of us, me, my husband, and my 2 kids, and in a 60-meter apartment in downtown Damascus. It was no water for many hours during the day, no electricity. I lived in a 15th floor, so imagine going up and down the stairs to go to work every day with 2 kids and heavy school bags. My neighbors got killed. We got stuck away from our house because the streets were not safe enough. We had to stay in a hotel for many nights because we couldn't go back home. But still, we did not decide to leave. We had some hopes and dreams that our life will be back to normal one day and everything is just a bad dreams and hoping. But still things kept getting worse and worse. My kids saw fires, they heard bombs. They became an expert actually in knowing what kind of weapon is being used. Is it far enough so they can just continue eating or doing whatever they're doing, or it's very close that they needed to hide under the bed or in the hallways. In late 2013, maybe early 2013, we decided we had received so many personal threats, and especially my kids. So we decided to move to Lebanon. When we moved to Lebanon, we opened a business. We thought that, all right, we're ready to start a new life there. But we faced the worst racist acts that any person can face. People, 2 occasions, were threatening to kill us in the streets. And we were driving in a car, and another car just tried to push us down a cliff with the kids in the car with us. So we applied for a visa in 2013, we got it, but still we were not sure if it's the right time to use it or we should still wait. Hopefully things get better, but things kept getting worse and worse and the threats kept coming. So we decided to take advantage of the visa and we came in March 2014. We came here in Massachusetts. We relocated to Watertown. We applied for asylum, and we're still pending. We have our work permit, but we're still pending. No interview yet, but at least we're working. Now, in Syria, I used to be an elementary school teacher, and now I work as an inclusion aide in the public schools. My husband also, he's working in a travel agency and hoping one day to open his own travel agency again here soon. My kids, now they are 7 and 11. My daughter is a Bluebell, and she just did the Memorial Day parade in Watertown. And my son loves music, and he is doing music production at YMCA. So when a town welcomes refugees, the refugees won't live off the taxpayers, or they will take advantage of the benefits that they've been offered. If they're taught resources, if they taught English first and offered resources and everything they needed to know, they will do so well in their communities. Syrians, all refugees, and Syrians in particular, love working. They cannot just stay. They would like to be successful. Syrian kids in schools, they came here with no English and they're very successful now. Syrians, they opened businesses, so they created new jobs. They did not take other people's jobs. And even if they are taking other people's jobs, they are being successful and they're working really hard. And they are offering a lot of help and doing a lot of volunteering in their communities. I would really love that all communities around this country are the same as the communities here in Massachusetts. We are very lucky. We chose Massachusetts and Boston and Watertown in particular too, because we were welcomed. And I think if every refugee is welcomed, they will be very successful. One more thing I would like to add is, if you don't know what to do for refugees or for any immigrant, the first thing to do is, just like Michael said, when Ali said, is just try to know them. Try to invite them and open your doors and minds to them so you get to know them better. If some people think that Syrian refugees, and Muslims in particular, are ISIS, we're not ISIS. We're far away from them. We're not here to do any terrorist attack. We had to leave for our kids' safety. I think every person on this earth, when they see that there is fear in their kids' eyes, they would have to do something, and they would have to do the same exact thing that we're doing. And I would love that you help all the Syrians and refugees in every way you can. Thank you so much.